my name is Gloria. Welcome back to my channel. This is just going to be a really quick one today. Not doing so well at the minute. As you can see, I cut my own hair again just because I wasn't liking it, but it's doing okay. Okay, first of all, I have an apology to make to Brandon Sanderson. In the last video where I talked about AI and ghostwriting and stuff, I had an author in my mind and I knew I could see the interview that I was talking about, which I have now linked down below. It wasn't Brandon Sanderson, it was Patterson, an interview he did for like some American morning show called From the Pencil of Patterson, because he writes almost exclusively longhand with pencil. I do understand that there is something about writing with pencil that I do also like, but if you click on that video, it's a YouTube video, you can see his whole office just has reams of files and shelves and everything of all of these books that he has the outlines for and the main beats of the story, and he gets someone else basically to fill them in. And at that time, I think that was like 2017 or something, I think he was trying to market like short books again, you know, like sort of the pulp novels, the shorter paperbacks that you would grab in a grocery store or whatever. I think he was trying to sort of bring that back, and he does say in that video as well he has weaknesses when it comes to writing, so he tries to like stick to his strengths, which are more just like action and stuff. So I don't know, I haven't read any Patterson's stuff. Somebody did ask me in the last video, did he like name the writers that he works with, and he does. If you look at the covers of his books, it says, you know, James, that's what his name is, James Patterson, the book title, and then it says like with whoever he writes it with. So you know, that I don't read Patterson. I have no idea. If you're a fan of Patterson, like, how do you feel about this? How do you feel knowing that he didn't write all of it, you know? It might have been his idea, but he didn't write like every word and stuff. Yeah, just lots of different ways of doing things. I also saw a TikTok today from an author who I also haven't read, but he was talking about an article, and there are ebook writers, mainly ebook writers out there, who are using AI to do some of their writing for them. He specifically talked about one science fiction writer who said that she didn't care about certain descriptions of buildings or rooms or whatever, so she would just ask ChatGPT or whatever to, you know, write me a description of this. I think it was like a fish cemetery or like something strange, and it gave her a couple hundred words on describing that, but he had an interesting point about how descriptions aren't just so that a reader can visualize a room. They can also be fantastic ways, and the best descriptions are fantastic ways of telling you something about the characters. Like if it's, whether it's first person or if it's third person or whatever, everything is subjective and everything should be subjective. So it's, what is that character seeing in the room? And he gave a great example of another science fiction book where someone is describing the tiny little metal box that they live in, and they're not just describing the physical parameters of it, they're describing how they feel about it and how it makes them feel to live there. And you're just never going to get that with AI because it doesn't understand that. So that was another interesting point to add on to that video. But this video, so I'm just going to talk about some of the book I will be reading in the next little while, because I just haven't had the energy to be reading recently. But going forward, my attention is going to be all about books. It's going to be all about reading. It's going to be all about doing my own writing and stuff as well. I just finished working at the Irish Writers Centre, my temporary part-time job, so I'm back being unemployed, and a lot of these books are books that I kind of need to return to the Irish Writers Centre, so we shall start with those. So first one I want to talk about, at the Christmas party for the Irish Writers Centre, there's a members' Christmas party, and they get some professional members and published writers to read, and I was just standing there. I was tidying up the place, I was doing my work, I was serving wine, and I heard an author reading, and you know, I was just kind of in the periphery, wasn't paying that much attention, but then I started getting like chills, and I was like, ugh. Oh, this is creepy. Normally it's just literary fiction or something in that vein, but this was like, got my spine a tingling, so I started paying attention, and it turned out to be Neil Sharpson and his book Knock Knock Open Wide. Now unfortunately my co-worker got to him first as he was leaving, and she said she really liked his book, and he said, here you go, take this, and he just gave her his copy of it, which was very nice, but she was good enough to lend it to me, so I am going to read this and get it back to her. But just from his reading alone, it was like really creepy. He was reading from the start of it, and it was a woman driving on a deserted country road at night, and she finds like a body, and I think the story switches between this woman finding the body and her daughter in the future, and how whatever happened on that night sort of echoes into the future and has an effect on the whole family. So creepy Irish horror, love it. I will be making a video soon about horror and about how people rarely call things horror, because for weeks while I was working there I was googling Irish horror, new Irish horror, new Irish horror fiction. This book never showed up. I wouldn't have known about this unless I'd been there that night and I heard him reading from it, and it is horror, but nobody wants to call it horror. So that's another discussion video I have coming up. Next up, I had one, so this is one that I saw on the shelves. There's a lot of books in the Irish Writers Centre. It's not a library, lending library, but a lot of people who come in just give a copy of their book, and anyone who is at the centre can read it, any members or anything. And this one caught my eye because I'm an insomniac, but also it looked a bit horrorish, and I had just finished a podcast episode of a podcast called Heart Starts Pounding. I actually found her through TikTok, and I'm so sure I'd heard this story before on a different podcast, but I can't remember where. But you should definitely go listen to it. It's so interesting. A woman, you know, late 20s, 30s, she's now with her partner, but she's always suffered from these sort of unexplainable panic attacks, and things like the sound of a hairdryer will have her absolutely like collapsing. And it was only that her partner, I think, was a survivor from the Holocaust, and he also suffered from PTSD, and he sort of understood what she was going through. And she later found out that she had been a part of these like sleep experiments, these awful experiments by this completely unethical doctor, and it's just a whole big story, absolutely mad. But this book, that isn't the title, by the way, it's a strange cover. It's called The Sleep Room by F.R. Tallis. It's an interesting cover. It is very creepy. It says something has awoken, but I do feel like it should still have the name of the book on the cover, not just the spine. Promising young psychiatrist James Richardson is offered the job opportunity of a lifetime by the charismatic Dr. Hugh Maitland. He is thrilled. Setting off to take up his post at Wild Hope Hall in deepest Suffolk, Richardson doesn't look back. One of his tasks is to manage Maitland's most controversial project, a pioneering therapy in which extremely disturbed patients are kept asleep for months. And this happened in real life. I feel like this must be sort of loosely based on that story. If this radical and potentially dangerous procedure is successful, it could mean professional glory for both doctors. As Richardson settles into his new life, he begins to sense something uncanny about the sleeping patients. 6 women. Forsaken by society. Why is Maitland unwilling to discuss their past lives? Why is the trainee nurse so on edge when she spends nights alone with them? And what can it mean when all the sleepers start dreaming at the same time? In this atmospheric reinvention of the ghost story, Richardson finds himself questioning everything he knows about the human mind as he attempts to uncover the shocking secrets of the sleep room. So yeah, this, I looked up, saw this on the shelf, thought it looked creepy, looked up the description, and I was like, this sounds like it's about that, because that is pretty much what happened in those actual real experiments. But I feel like this is going to be a bit more paranormal, so I'm looking forward to that. It looks really big, but it's only about 370 pages, so it shouldn't take me that long to get through that. Another one I grabbed, so this is Banshee. This is actually an Irish literary magazine. This is the 2017 issue, and I grabbed this because I need to start writing more and I need to start submitting more. And Banshee is a journal I've heard a lot about. I didn't realise that they don't have any rules around genre, so if it's a good story and they want to publish it, they'll publish it. So I think Deirdre Sullivan was published in there, and she obviously now writes supernatural horror creepy YA books, so I would be quite happy to be published in the same sort of publication. So this was just sitting beside me at my desk, so I grabbed it and I want to read through it and see what kind of stories they published in the past. It's always a good thing to do if you want to submit to an anthology or a magazine, to read what they published in the past and see if your story would, or any of your stories would fit in well there. So this is really short, it's just a few short stories, and it's only about 100 pages, so I'll get through that pretty quickly. Another one I just grabbed right before I left is Shift by Mia Gallagher. She's an Irish writer. This was her first short story collection, I believe, and I just want to see, I've heard her name so many times, and I've seen so many, she's facilitated and taught a lot of creative writing classes and stuff. She has a great reputation as a writer and as a teacher, so I just wanted to see what kind of caliber her stories are and what I can learn from them. I will be entering, there's a thing called the National Mentoring Program where you can apply, and based on a work that you're currently working on, you can be assigned a professional writer, and I believe that Mia Gallagher is one of the writers, one of the 80 writers that you can be assigned, and they will mentor you for up to 8 months to hopefully get your book finished or whatever you're working on. So yeah, it'll be pretty cool. It just kind of scope things out, see what level I should be at, if I wanted to actually get in there, This one, I actually don't have to give this back because this was a gift. So on the 6th of January in Ireland, that is known as Nullag Naman, or Women's Christmas. It's kind of seen as, because women do everything on Christmas generally, they're doing the cooking and the cleaning and the decorating and buying everyone presents. So the 6th of January is when women could historically leave the house in Ireland and go visit their friends and, have their own festivities. So the Irish Writer Centre always has a party, and they will have people reading, and they also do a book swap. So you cover a book, you don't put the title or anything on it, and you bring a book and you take a book. And the book I gave, I can't remember what it was. It was on my TBR, so I hadn't actually read it yet, and I just had a feeling I wasn't going to get to it. God help whoever picked that one, because the wrapping was terrible. But the one that I got was this one, right, which I'm pretty sure this is brand new. Somebody bought this to bring there, and I think a lot of people bought books. I gave a second-hand book, so I don't think you were supposed to bring a brand new book, but thank you very much for this. So this is Dazzling by Chikodili Emelumadu. I think it's a fantasy. It's a gorgeous cover. Anyway, Treasure and her mother lost everything when Treasure's daddy died. Haggling for scraps in the market, Treasure meets a spirit who promises to bring her father back, but she has to do something for him first. Ozamina has an itch in the middle of her back that can't be scratched, an itch that speaks to her patrilineal destiny to defend her people by becoming a leopard. Her father impressed upon her what an honour this was before he disappeared, but it's one she couldn't want less. As the two girls reckon with their burgeoning wildness and legacy of decisions made by their fathers, Ozamina's fellow students at her new school start to vanish. Treasure and Ozamina will face terrible choices as each must ask herself, in a world that always says no to women, what must two young girls sacrifice to get what is theirs? So I think it is a fantasy set in Africa. Nigeria. Yes, I knew it. Nigerian mythology, based on Nigerian mythology. So that's going to be really interesting. I love fantasy, and I love mythology of any country. So learning something new, some new mythology is fantastic. So I'm looking forward to that. And like, just look at dazzling is a great name for that. The last one that I have to return, I grabbed this on a whim. I have this thing about wanting to read writers and names that like I hear about a lot but aren't my thing, just in case. I don't know, just in case, just to see what they write like. So Nora Roberts, you may have heard of her before. I think I looked up once like who publishes the most, and she was up there. She publishes multiple books a year. You can tell this is an old book because it's got like these inserts. Like, I don't know if they're coupons, or you can send them off. That's like a postcard. You used to always get them maybe in like Goosebumps or something. You used to get like coupons where you could like send it off to the publisher to get the next book or whatever. I just thought that was interesting. But yeah, she seems to publish a lot. I think this is Without a Trace. I'm assuming it's women's fiction, or just, you know, literary fiction written by a woman. That's what that is. Trace O'Hurley had turned his back on responsibility and commitment long ago. Now he lived the way he wanted, did what he wanted, when he wanted, but that was all going to change. Gillian Fitzpatrick had responsibilities, commitments. Her brother had disappeared and she was frightened and desperate. Trace was her only hope. He had the connections, the expertise, and the guts. But just what was she going to have to do to convince him to help her? I wonder that too. So yeah, this is a 250 page. It's got a beach on the front, so I'm assuming they wanted to market it to people, you know, going on holiday and stuff. Oh, 2 black sheep. Fair enough. This, I think, also kind of stems from what I said in my last video about Patterson and how like there are authors who it's more about quantity than quality. Not saying that it isn't quality, because I haven't read it yet. I haven't read anything of hers or Patterson's, but they do tend to get a lot out there. And you could say the same for Stephen King. He, you know, how many books has he published? Some of them are good, some of them are not. So yeah, I just want to see, what the writing is like. One that I have to return, but not to the Irish Writers Centre, to the library. I've mentioned this before. It's the Edgar Allan Poe Complete Works Collection. I'm almost at 1,000 followers on my book TikTok, my book talk account. So once I reach 1,000 on that, I'll be able to go live, and I think I'm gonna use it to go live and read some stories. I've seen people do that before, you know, bedtime stories for people and stuff. So I'm gonna get through this by having a camera on me and forcing me to read. So hopefully I'll get this and get my library card reinstated. The other two I have started. I swear to God I started them. I just haven't been able to read them. This is Fear by L. Ron Hubbard. Yes, that L. Ron Hubbard. Grabbed it in a charity shop. Very strange. I've read the first, there's no actual chapters in this, but I've read the first like section. Kind of how I'd expected it to go. It feels very self-insert. If you know anything about his life and how he got into making his religion, it feels very self-insert from him. But it has quotes on the back from Ray Bradbury and Stephen King saying it's the best book ever, so we'll see. This one, I've literally been talking about this for years. At least almost since I started Book Talk. BookTube. I don't know what it is about this book. I saw people saying it was great probably when it came out, and it is a movie now. I wanted to read it before I saw the movie, but I don't know, I just felt like watching the movie, so I watched the movie. Don't really know how I feel about the movie. There's pros and cons about it. I'll do a video whenever I actually finish this. But I started reading this. Again, I don't think this has chapters, but no chapters. But I read the first like little bit while I was about to go on holiday. So when was that? Like a year ago. And these people are also going on holiday and bad things are happening, so that was fun. But I'll get that done soon, and I'll do a video about that. So lots of books to finish, but I have ones that I have to return. So yeah, those are the books that I will be reading in the future, and I will do reviews and videos about those. I'll also be doing a lot of videos about my own writing, because I have to write now and I have to submit to magazines, and I have to get a collection or something published this year, or my brain is going to turn to mush and I will disappear. So thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate people sticking around, and I will have plenty of videos coming up, some new discussion videos as well. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next video.